Hey guys, Ben Paints here, and today we are back once again for another video at Teamsport Cardiff, and today we're doing another Monday night social which consisted of a practice / qualifying session which you are watching in the background as I talk, and then it was followed by a 15-minute race, as you know. And before we do get into the video, you can see me adjusting my seat quite frantically there. I would just like to say thank you so much for all the recent support on the videos. I have just reached my first video which has got over 1,000 views, and I couldn't be more appreciative to every single one of you that has viewed, watched and subscribed to me. And if you do enjoy the content, could you please hit the like button, as it really does support me and encourage me to make some more videos. And also, if you are new, could you please hit the subscribe button too, as I really do appreciate it. And here we can see, moving in straight away into the video, we are performing a rolling start here in the race. So here we are tucked up right behind the driver in kart number 9, and I was starting in 6th position. I didn't have the best start or the best qualifying session. I did feel that the karts were a little bit cold and off the pace this week compared to last week. I felt a whole second slower compared to usual. You see green underway there. I got caught napping a little bit, and there was a little bit of a gap formed straight away, so I had to do a little bit of defending to begin with. The kart here that I was using felt really cold, the tyres felt really cold. I thought I warmed them up during the rolling start, but unfortunately I didn't, and able to close up quite a lot to the two drivers in 4th and 5th here. You can see they're battling each other, and we come across the start line there for our first official lap. You can see the driver in number 9 there going for the inside up the ramp, but unfortunately just not having the traction. Neither did I, as you can see the two drivers breaking away quite heavily there. He moves to the inside there, has a little bit of contact, and I thought I could move to the inside here while he was letting the other driver back through, so I was able to stick it down the inside here and actually move up in to 5th position. So I was really happy there, pretty clean overtake, and this was something that I was really trying to work on this week, as I really didn't want to go for the best lap times ever. I just wanted to try and practice making clean overtakes, as that's something that I've been a little bit off the ball with. I've been a little bit aggressive, especially when it comes to back markers, and therefore I really wanted to try and make some clean overtakes there, getting a really good run out of the bottom hairpin there, doing a little bit of bunny hopping to get right on the back of number 11 and swinging down the inside, and able to actually hold the inside of the corner to move myself up into 4th position. So in the space of a lap I gained 2 places, which I was really happy with, and I really wanted to just nail the laps now and move on and try and catch the top 3 drivers, who were all juniors, very light and very quick. As you can see already on the left hand side of the screen there, just disappearing off into the distance. You can barely even see them anymore, so they really did have a good start, and I knew in the back of my mind I wasn't really going to be able to catch them for the rest of the race. So looking behind me just to try and make sure that the drivers behind that I'd overtaken, I'd actually managed to gain myself a little bit of a gap, which I was really happy with, and I was trying to settle in and try and set some decent laps. You can see already my last lap was a 36.351. I really wanted to improve on this as we move throughout this session. I didn't show you the practice session, but it did have my fastest lap of the evening, which was a 35.4 second lap, and this is in fact obviously a second slower than the week before, and I think that was due to the karts just being a little bit off the pace this week. So instead I really wanted to try and focus on just my racecraft rather than just trying to gain as fast times as I possibly could. So there we come across the line with 36.202. The times are coming down a little bit. I was trying to get a nice smooth line and smooth exit, and I really did feel a lot quicker this week compared to previous weeks. I felt that I was being a lot smoother on the pedals and actually getting a lot better traction out of the corners compared to what I usually do. They're going a little bit too narrow there and almost hitting the side barrier coming through the right hand corner, and trying to really maximise my speed on the exit off the complex sections. Like, that is a place where I lose a lot of time. And the same here with the bottom hairpin. Now I did try some different lines into the bottom hairpin, but I realised just none of them really worked. So I just stuck to what I knew, and just that was sort of going in quite narrow and then trying to minimise the distance compared to going a little bit wider and trying to gain more traction on the ramp, as I think I've sort of succumbed to the idea that up the ramp I really am just going to lose a lot of time being the weight I am, especially compared to a lot of the lightweight and junior drivers that come round at Teamsport Cardiff. Doesn't really give you a lot of a fighting chance compared to them, and we come across the line here with a 36.268, so a little bit slower. I was being quite consistent with my lap times, but I wasn't actually getting as quick lap times as I wanted to. Really trying to maximise the track here, going as wide as possible to try and get a good exit around the left hand corner, taking it a little bit too wide and hitting the barrier there, trying to get as close to the apexes here as I possibly could to try and shorten the track. See a little bump from behind as well, so I was getting pressured by the driver behind me at this point, and I knew the driver behind that I did overtake in the first overtake was a little bit quicker than me. They were 10th quicker than me in practice and qualifying, and I noticed after I'd overtaken them that I made a little bit of a gap, but they were actually gaining a lot of time on me through these first few laps, and therefore I really started. You can see already I'm taking a little bit of a tighter line coming in to the top left corner, but unfortunately I went a little bit too wide, and this allowed the driver to just dive down the inside and take the position off me. Now here I really wanted to try and keep up with them and try and maintain pace, but you could see straight away the amount of difference in speed he was able to get. Leaning forward, being a little bit more aerodynamic than me, but you could see down the straight the amount of speed he was gaining. In the corners I felt like I was keeping up with him, and here you can see I was closing up a little bit, but then as soon as it got to the straights here and also the hairpin here, you can see the line he takes and just the traction and pace he gets up the ramp. He's just absolutely flown away, and there you can see me shaking my head a little bit. I just realised that I was a little bit of like a fish in a barrel there. I've completely lost so much time going up the ramp, and I was a little bit upset, but I thought I'd keep my head down and try and maintain 5th position at least. I knew there were a couple of drivers behind me as well that were also putting in some pretty decent time, so I wanted to try and stay ahead. And at this point in the race I was really trying to keep up with the driver ahead, but you can see already after just a single lap they'd sort of gained so much time. My times aren't actually getting a lot better, they're being quite consistent, but 36.185 really was off the pace, so I didn't have the best start here. Looking across, just trying to even find the junior drivers down at the front, and you can't even see them already. They're already on the bottom half of the track, and they gained so much time for the first few laps. And I realised here, as the drivers sort of disappearing off into this distance, that this was the position that I really wanted to solidify. So my idea in this session changed from trying to be quick and trying to just manage some decent overtakes into more of a defensive bit of practice, as this is something that I haven't really practiced. You can see there come down to 36.059, so the times are coming down a bit, but I really wanted to try and work on my defense, because that's something that I haven't really had a chance to do. I've always tried to be as fast as I can, try and overtake as many people as possible, but here in this session I realised that I just wasn't as fast as the drivers ahead, and therefore I just wanted to really solidify my position and stay in 5th as if I could, because I was one of the heavier drivers in the session, and I think the driver ahead of me in 4th, I didn't realise he's actually in the lightweight category, so I didn't really stand that much of a chance up against him. And also with the amount of juniors that were surrounding me as well, I really did feel that I was in for a bit of a rough ride. But there once again a 36.072, checking behind me and seeing that, you can't quite see it on the camera, but there was actually a train of about 2 or 3 karts coming up behind me, and I really didn't want to let them sort of slide ahead of me and sort of have the same fate as the driver ahead of me did, where you can't even see them anymore. As we come back down the ramp here and we come round the bottom hairpin, trying to get as tight as possible once again. You can see the driver ahead, look to the right, he's so far ahead, so I was still trying to remain quite positive at this point and trying to just be consistent and try and stay in a nice realm of speed, as well as this was about halfway through the session at this point at 36.014, so my times are getting better and we are approaching a back marker here, which is obviously my favourite thing. So at this point I wanted to try and get out behind them and hopefully try and make a clean overtake and not cause detriment to myself and also to the other drivers. I didn't really want to be that aggressive, so we came down the bottom hairpin here, getting a pretty decent run out of the corner. Checking back once again, there was, as I said, there was like 2 or 3 karts behind me putting a bit of pressure on me. See the driver ahead just putting the power down a little bit too much in the brakes. I just decided today just to hold my ground and not try and dive past, and luckily for me they did actually let me go past on the bottom hairpin, which I was very appreciative of, and that obviously was due to the fact that I actually gave them a bit more space than I usually do. So I did feel quite happy in myself that I didn't feel that aggressive. I didn't want to be that rude compared to other weeks where I would have just completely dived down the inside, maybe given them a little bump in the back to let them know I'm there. And I feel that just by being a little bit more patient I was able to lose less time by tangling myself with them. So coming down the back straight once again, down the bottom, trying to keep my foot in the whole way round by getting a good angle into the corner. And on this bottom corner here I was really able to gain a lot more time compared to where I usually do, because I was actually trail braking and being a lot softer on the brake pedal compared to what I usually am, and this allowed the back wheels to not lock up as much compared to what they usually do, because when that happens obviously the cart bogs down, and then this means that a lot of time is lost, especially when you're a bit heavier and the cart struggles to get up to speed. It really is difficult to maintain the momentum. So I was trying to make sure in this session as well, just to try and keep the cart at a decent speed for the whole time. I was trying to make sure that the revs weren't dropping too much and they weren't really bogging down. So here once again trying to get a good angle and trying to stay as far to the right as I could to give me a bit of a better exit into that following left corner. You can see that was my fastest lap so far, a 35.953, so very happy with that as well. And I was really focusing at this point to try and keep the drivers behind me at bay. But what you are watching, I didn't mention, this was in fact my fastest lap of the race. So obviously I said in practice I got a 35.6, and once again we did come round with a decent time here. So coming down the back straight here once again, getting a pretty decent angle into the corner, trying to make sure that the back of the car doesn't step out too much, but also trying to make sure that I didn't lift off when coming through that corner. And we do come across the line there with 35.668, which was a decent time, but it was still about a second off where I was last week. And here I tried to take a bit of a narrower line and just trying to defend my position. You can't quite see them behind me, but there was about a trail of 3 or 4 drivers now at this point, and I was really trying to take some tight lines. You can see them sticking to the middle of the track, moving back to the right to try and put the drivers off behind me, looking behind me quite a lot. And usually I try not to look behind me as it distracts me from what's coming up ahead, and I really like to focus on what's ahead because it means I get faster laps. It gives me an opportunity to pull away, but instead here you can see by driving a bit more defensive we come across the line out of 36.001, trying to get as close to the inside here up the ramp as this is the place where I was most vulnerable, and getting hit wide there. So a bit of an aggressive move from the driver behind me in car number 16, and I was a bit upset losing that position, but I really wanted to try and tag along behind them and try and gain the position back. But you could see here as we come down the ramp there was like a red light flash, then a green light, then back to red. So we did actually have to stop here and wait for the marshal there on the right to actually move the car out of the barrier. As we get back into the restart here, I really wanted to try and stay behind the driver ahead and try and catch up. You can see that on the right, the lights go green and I really do catch him napping. And I do force my way down the inside there, and I was actually able to move back up from 6th back into 5th. And at this point I knew that the driver behind me was a little bit quicker, and therefore I really did have to drive a little bit more defensive. And this time I was learning from my mistake where he overtook me previously. So here I really stuck to the middle of the track, stayed really narrow here, not going wide at all. And my goal here was just to try and stay as narrow as I could to the track, moving to the left slightly at the last minute just to give myself a bit of a better turn in. But here for the rest of the race I really was on lockdown, to be honest. I was trying to just stay as tight as I could to each corner, really give the drivers behind no opportunity to get past. So here going a little bit wide, I was worried about a challenge down the inside, but once again I didn't see one coming, so I think I was a little bit further ahead than I thought I was. Sticking to the middle of the track once again, shifting back to the right and then trying to get a decent turn in. Obviously that did compromise me coming up the ramp even more than usual, but as I was tighter to the line here, this did mean that there wasn't really a gap there for anyone to get past, and obviously you're not really going to make an overtake around the outside on that corner. And that was sort of the way I thought for the whole race. I thought if I could stay to the inside here and also use the back markers sort of as a buffer, then I'd be able to just sort of hold my position, solidify where I was, because it really was difficult there. Almost completely, that doesn't look as bad on the video, but I came around that corner really quick and I almost completely went into the back of that driver. So I was really lucky that I was able to just have a little bit of fast reaction times there just to get out of the way of the driver that hit the wall. And I think they did actually let past the other drivers behind me as well, so the pressure was still on here for the last few laps. I obviously knew that this was nearing the end of the races. I've been going around for about 10-12 minutes now. I realised I'd been around for quite a few laps there. I thought the driver was coming down the inside, so that's why I looked back there, really sticking tight once again. I did go a little bit wide down the exit, but I thought if I went a little bit wide, I didn't think it would give the driver enough time to sort of make a lunge for the outside. As I said, I didn't think on this track there's really any opportunities to go round the outside unless you have immense overspeed, and the only place where I was really going to get overtaken was on this top section here, because this was the section where I was losing all my time to other drivers. As I felt in the corners I was really able to hold my own, where I was a little bit heavier, I had a little bit more grip going through mid-corner, and this also meant that I was able to either stay in the same position ahead or actually gain some time. And here once again we're coming up behind 2 back markers here, and I every time this happens I do get a little bit worried that something might happen, anything could happen, but I was coming up behind them quite rapidly here, and I've come across the line now 36.052, so the lap times are completely nowhere near where they should be. But obviously I was driving very defensively and trying to just keep some drivers at bay. You can see the driver in front there looking for a move down the inside. They do actually manage to pull it off, and I actually got jeopardised there. Luckily the driver behind me actually went straight into the back of me, or they would have been sailing around my outside on that corner. So I did get forced wide there a little bit, but I was able to hold momentum and actually keep the position, which I was really happy with. Coming around the corner again on the bottom section, really trying to close up to the driver ahead, really taking a wide line. And you can see it jeopardises them coming out of the second section there. So I was able to dive down the inside, coming across the start finish straight and up into the hairpin. And you can see again getting bumped from behind, and this did make me reasonably happy because it proved to me that I was able to hold my own at this point, and the driver behind me was getting quite frustrated with my kart positioning. And obviously, if the driver behind you was getting frustrated, then you must be doing something right. You can see again getting barged around that corner, and I was really trying to stay tight at this point as I felt that I was coming near the end of the race. The driver was actually on the right hand side there, so I gave him a little bit more room, and you can see they did force me a little bit wide there, but I was able to hold the position once more. And we came around the corner here, and this was in fact the last lap of the race, so I was really happy with that. Come across the line with 36.902, which is obviously really slow, but I was actually very happy with my performance there and able to hold off the drivers behind me. That does, however, bring us to the end of the video, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, could you please hit the like button and subscribe for more in the future. We really are closing in on 100, and I feel like we can hit that target very soon. As always, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.